Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about to review our C1 is we are going to talk about polynomials. So when you are adding or subtracting polynomials, you are simply going to add the coefficients of like terms and do nothing with the exponents. So remember, your coefficients are the big numbers. So 3, -2, the invisible 1 here, the -2, and the -6. So for it to be a like term, remember all the exponents and all the variables have to match. So right here I have x squared. So I'm looking for other terms that just have x squared, and I have it right here. So I have 3 and I'm taking away 2. That's going to give me 1x squared. So now my next term has a y. So I have -2y here. Now I'm looking for another term with y, and the only other term with a y is at the end, -6y. So if I start with -2 and then I'm taking away 6 more, that's going to give me a -8y. And now I'm going to look at my last term, which is I have one term where I'm multiplying the variables x and y. And so as you can see, all my other variables have been combined together. So I'm just going to bring down the plus xy. I would be looking for another term that is just multiplying an x with a y to make xy, and then I would add or subtract their coefficients to combine them. So this is my final answer. I have x squared minus y plus xy. Remember, in a final answer, you would not see x squared. All right, next, looking at multiplying. Remember, this is where you use the box method if you are multiplying them. So you're going to do your rows and columns. So I would need one row in my box for 3x, and then I would need 3 columns for the 5x squared minus 2x minus 4. So I'm going to do 3x, and I'm going to do 5x squared minus 2x minus 4. Now I drew an extra box here, so I'm not going to use it. I just was drawing an extra box. Okay, so now I'm going to multiply, use my multiplication skills. I'm going to multiply. So the first thing I would get when I multiply 3x and 5x squared is I'm going to get 15x to the third. And now I'm going to multiply 3x and -2x, and I'm going to get -6x squared. And then I'm going to multiply 3x and -4 for an answer of -12x. And then that's it. Those are my those are my terms. And now I'm going to look to see in my boxes, do I have any like terms? And I do not. So my final answer is going to be 15x to the power of 3 minus 6x squared minus 12x. And that would be my final answer. That would be my polynomial I get when I multiply. And so now I'm going to look at, now the word problem. What is the area of a square with the length of 2 times the value of x minus 3 and a width of the value of x minus 4. Now remember, area is a clue word for multiply. So since these are not just numbers, they're polynomials, so that tells me I need to use the box method. So I'm just going to, it doesn't matter what you put along the left side or the top where you put your length or width. I always put the first polynomial, the first terms that I'm going to multiply as my rows. So I'm going to put 2x and then -3 here on the left. And then the second polynomial that's being multiplied, I make my columns. So I've got x and then -4. So I have a box with 2 rows and 2 columns, and now I'm going to start multiplying. So 2x times x is 2x squared. And now I'm going to fill in my bottom left, so the first column, second row, and I'm going to get -3x. And then I'm going to multiply -4 and 2x for -8x. And then I'm going to multiply -3 and -4 for a +12. And now, again, I've got 4 boxes of terms, and now I need to combine like terms to see what my final answer is. So I'm going to get 2x squared. And if you notice, your diagonal boxes are typically the ones that have like terms. So I've got -3 here, and I'm taking away 8 more. So I'm going to have -11x. And then my constant, +12, because there are no other constants to combine. And so now I'm going to end up with an area of 2x squared minus 11x plus 12. And then our next example is we've got several polynomials being multiplied. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up into some boxes. So I'm going to do the first multiplication. So I've got 1/2, and then I'm going to multiply that with 8a, and then a +6b. And then my second multiplication is going to be 3b, but because we're subtracting, that 3b is negative, so I'm going to put -3b. b, very small there. And then I'm multiplying that by 6a plus 2. All right, so now I'm going to start multiplying. Okay, I'm going to have 8a times a half. Well, what's a half of 8? Half of 8 is 4, so I've got 4a. All right, and now I'm multiplying 6b times a half, so half of 6 is 3, so that's going to be 3b. And now I'm multiplying 6a times negative 3b. And since these are not matching variables, the exponents on the a or the b are not going to change. So I'm going to just multiply negative 3 times 6, which is negative 18. And then I'm just going to have a times b. There's not going to be any exponent increase because they're not the same letter. And now I'm going to multiply and fill in my final box. So I've got 2 times negative 3b, which is going to be negative 6b. Ooh, and that's actually going to match that. Okay, and so again, now I'm looking for like terms in my 4 boxes that I have so that I can get this final polynomial. So I'm looking for all my terms with a, and the only one that I have is 4a, so it's going to be 4a. And now I'm looking for all the terms with just a b, so I have 3 here and I have negative 6 here, so 3 minus 6 is negative 3b. And then my final box is negative 18ab. So I don't have any other terms where I'm multiplying an a and a b together, so I'm just going to bring that down. It's going to be negative 18ab. And there's my final polynomial. Okay, last thing that we're going to look at, we are going to review how to divide polynomials and then how to simplify square roots. So remember, with dividing, you can use the box method, and you're actually going to go ahead and fill in some of these boxes here. It's kind of like factoring. And then what you are dividing by, your divisor, that is going to be your rows. So I'm going to put this y plus 5 is going to go along the outside on the left. And then I'm going to take the first term of the dividend, what is being divided, what is being split up, and that is going to go in the top left box. So that always goes there, and that's how you pre-fill in. So now you're going to use your multiplication skills, because I know that something times y is going to give me 2y squared. So I know that that would be 2y. Well, and if I know 2y goes here, I can multiply by 5, and I can fill in the next box, and I'm going to get 10y. Okay, and here is where I use kind of some of my factoring skills. Remember, when we factor, we know that these diagonal boxes are like terms. Well, these two boxes have to combine to equal 3y. So I've already got 10, but I need to end up with 3y at the end. So that means I'm going to be taking away some y's. So how many do I have to take away from 10 to get to 3? And the answer is 7. So this box has to be negative 7y, because again, 10 minus 7 is going to give me 3y. And if I have this box filled in, I should be able to use my multiplication skills here. So what times y is going to give me negative 7y? That would be negative 7. And if the product of negative 7 and y is negative 7y, now I can find the product of negative 7 and 5, which is negative 35. I'm going to write this in P. Negative 35. Okay, so now I want to look. I have to have a constant of negative 40, but what's my constant in my boxes? Negative 35. This tells me that I need another box of constants so that I can get back to this negative 40 that I'm supposed to have for my dividend. Okay, well, if I'm at negative 35, what has to be in here so when I combine them, I get negative 40? So I need more negatives. How many more negatives do I need? I need 5 more negatives, so that should be negative 5. Okay, now if you look, I have a row of constants right here. This is my constant, and it's filled in. If I need to go past that row of that column for the constants, that actually is now my remainder column. Okay, so anything in this remainder column is extra, which means this doesn't divide evenly. So my final answer is going to be the answer to this division problem. Here's what I get when I divide 2y squared plus 3y minus 40 by y plus 5. I'm going to get a quotient, because that's the answer to a division problem. My quotient is going to be 2y minus 7 with a remainder of negative 5. Now, You may not see it written like this. How you're probably going to see it is you're going to see 2y minus 7, and then they're going to either add or subtract. You got to look at the sign of your remainder. Negative tells you are subtracting, and it's going to be 5 divided by, you're going to take your remainder and divide it by what? Well, what were we dividing to begin with? We were dividing by y plus 5. And this is how you're going to see it if you have a remainder. That's how you're going to see your quotient written.